Yes, I know what you're thinking, but no, this is not an Audi A6, despite the fact it certainly does look like one. Instead, this is the all-new 2021 Acura TLX, and this is actually part 2 of my 2-part series on the new TLX. And if you've not already, please check out part 1 because it will answer many of your questions about this all-new sports sedan. There's a link in the description down below. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about this particular 2021 Acura TLX because this is the 2021 TLX ADVANCE package, which has some very cool standout features. Now, dynamically, there's not much to distinguish the two at surface level. Both the TLX A-Spec and this TLX ADVANCE have the same 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine under the hood that makes the same 272 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque, and both are backed by the same 10-speed automatic transmission, and in this case, both have the optional super handling all-wheel drive, which costs you an extra $2,000. Front-wheel drive is standard. However, there is one notable dynamic difference at play here, and that is the fact that the ADVANCE TLX is the only trim to feature adaptive shock absorbers. What that means is that those fancy shocks are continuously monitoring wheel movement and imperfections in the road and adjusting accordingly. Acura claims that these standard shock absorbers on the TLX and that TLX A-Spec are tuned for a slightly sportier but still comfortable ride. However, they claim that these adaptive dampers have a wider operating range and can offer simultaneously, depending on what you desire, a more comfortable and an even sportier ride, depending on which of the drive mode selection options you choose. So right now I have things in comfort and it's very comfy. However, if I toggle this dynamic mode switch down here from comfort all the way over to sport, yes, makes a very satisfying noise, listen. Ooh, that's very satisfying. Now, not only do you get this sort of enhanced induction note from the engine like that, now, I'm not gonna go out here and say that the change from comfort to sport completely transforms the TLX from a cushy cruiser to a track day demon, because that's just not the case, but it does make a marked difference, and I appreciate that. Because with a lot of cars on sale today, drive modes are kind of gimmicky. They don't really do all that much. Sure, they may change the throttle response, which is, who cares really? But this actually does something. It does actually change the feel of the car, and I appreciate that. And amusingly, like the TLX A-Spec I just drove a few minutes before this has the same comfort and economy-minded tires on it, which howl in protest way before the chassis wants to give up. You hear that? I'm not pushing that hard. You can hear the tires squealing. Like, please slow down! But again, that's a good sign because the bones, the TLX, the underpinnings with that new double wishbone front suspension and the more aluminum intensive chassis, this thing actually drives and handles really nicely. And it's a good thing for most cars when the tires are your biggest letdown. So that is the easiest thing to fix and upgrade. It's my understanding that this TLX ADVANCE with super handling all-wheel drive is right around $50,000. I will correct that in the edit and try and put the number right here. But I will say that for the money, it does seem like a lot of car. You have this 10.2-inch infotainment screen that I'm quite a big fan of. Actually, I like their revised system down here to control it. It's like a smarter version of the Lexus system, actually. The fact that it has a lot of niceties in it. You know, I like the interior, I like the materials. You know, I like the wood, I like the leather, I like the multiple colors happening in here. I like the fact that even in the sportiest mode, this thing is still very comfortable and very quiet. There are a lot of good things happening in here. Now, as sharp as this engine is, and wow, in sport mode it's pretty sharp, I do wish the fuel economy was better. Like I mentioned in part 1 of this video series, The TLX with all-wheel drive, even with this entry-level 2.0 turbo engine, is not super fuel efficient. It's not terrible, but it's definitely the worst amongst its competitors. I suppose it's the trade-off for having slightly more power than most of its competition, because with all-wheel drive, this thing does 21 mpg city, 29 mpg freeway, and 24 mpg combined. Again, it's not horrible, but compared to its Teutonic competition, you know, Audi, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, all of their entry-level engines, which are also 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinders, just are slightly more fuel efficient. While the TLX Advance on paper is quite similar to the TLX A-Spec, there are a few differences inside as well that I wanted to show you really quickly in this companion piece video. First up, take a look around. I love the quality and the caliber of the materials we're seeing in here. I love the off-white leather contrasting with the rich brown and the black, as well as this real wood trim. Acura's made a big point about the TLX interior. If it looks like metal, it probably is metal, and if it looks like wood, it's real wood. And it feels nice. You know, this is real wood. It feels like a very luxurious cabin. It also helps the TLX Advance has some very nice creature comforts in here, like heated and ventilated powered front seats and heated rear seats. It's also worth noting the Advance has the 17-speaker ELS Studio 3D audio system with 710 watts and 2 split subwoofers in the trunk. I can't play you any of Acura's music they have loaded on this little USB stick for the infotainment display, because otherwise I'll get demonetized on YouTube, but the audio system in this car is wondrous. I cannot sing enough praises about how good it is. I really encourage you to go to a dealership and crank the volume knob up as high as you possibly can. Now, I had to pull the cheat sheet out for this, I do apologize, but the TLX comes standard with Acura Watch as standard on all trim levels, and this is what it includes. Collision mitigation braking. So if it sees the car in front of you, it will brake automatically if it doesn't think you're gonna do it. Forward collision warning, which is the step before that. It beeps at you if it thinks you're gonna hit something or someone. Adaptive cruise control with low speed follow, which means in traffic, it will brake and accelerate and pace the car in front of you without you doing anything. Lane keep assist, so it will adjust the steering as needed. Road departure mitigation, same thing. If it thinks you're wandering onto your lane, you're gonna go off the road, it will slow the car down, correct your steering, beep at you, do all that sort of stuff. And new for the 2021 TLX, these are additional features they've added to Acura Watch 421, is the traffic sign recognition system, because this advanced trim has a head-up display up here, so it will see all the traffic signs in real time and display them right here in the head-up display in case you miss them. It also has the driver attention monitor. It can literally tell what you're doing in the seat, and if it thinks you're not paying attention or if you're tired, it will beep at you and tell you to pull over and get a coffee or take a nap. Then there's also expanded pedestrian detection capability, which is very cool. I've seen it work on the display here. Head-up display on the advanced trim is very nice. It integrates all this stuff into it as well as the nav, and it just seems to work quite nicely. And then there is traffic jam assist, which works in tandem with the nav to optimize your route, as well as just reduce driver fatigue while you're in that traffic jam. It will do the low-speed driving for you. Oh yeah, as an available extra, this car does have blind spot monitors in the mirrors right here. I'm a huge fan of the seats in the TLX. I find them supremely comfortable. However, in this advanced trim, the front seats are a little bit different than every other TLX trim, and that is because they are 16-way power adjustable. And while it is very cool, like a lot of cars, unfortunately, that means there are more electric motors under the seat, and that means this seat sits a little bit higher than it does in other TLX trims. So for the tallest of drivers out here, I actually have the driver's seat in the lowest possible position. I'm 6'1". If you were like 6'4", you probably want to step down to the A-Spec trim, just because that seat sits a little bit lower, you'll be more comfortable. Now folks, I do apologize. I know these videos have been kind of short and sporadic, sort of stream of consciousness type videos. And like I mentioned in part 1, that's because I only have access to these vehicles for a very, very short amount of time. I only had the A-Spec for about an hour 15 in the end. I've only had this car for about 45 minutes. So if it seems like a bit of a jumble, I do apologize. I'm trying to get you as much information on this car as I possibly can in the very short amount of time I have to drive this car. In fact, I'm already 5 minutes late to returning this car to Acura. Sorry guys, I do apologize. I'm hurrying as fast as I possibly can, and thankfully I have super handling all-wheel drive and VTEC turbo engine to keep me in check. Oh, this thing's pretty quick. In any case, like I said in part 1 with the TLX A-Spec, I actually am a big fan of this TLX Advance. It really does seem like a truly competitive sports sedan option from Acura. It seems like it does go toe-to-toe with, you know, the Audi A4s and things like that. And the fact of the matter is that with those German cars, they are very impressive and very competitive, more so than ever. If you compare, a high-spec BMW 3 Series to a high-spec Audi to a high-spec C-Class, there are going to be some really impressive cars out there. However, I think Acura has been really smart by keeping the price in check, because the fact of the matter is a $50,000 BMW 3 or 5 Series or a $50,000 Audi A4 or A6 or a $50,000 Mercedes E or C-Class will probably just not be quite as comparably equipped as the Acura is. This thing is, fitted with every sort of comfort and convenience you could ever want. And with the German cars, while you can get all this really cool stuff, you absolutely pay out the nose for it. So I think that's Acura's USP there. Unique selling proposition is the fact that for the money you're paying, this thing looks great, it drives great, has a lot of cool stuff in it. And as always, guys, if you're interested in learning more about the TLX, obviously I can't jam all of it in a very short video like this. Check out my full reviews and write-ups on drivebrakefixrepete.com. And as always, my name is Jake Stump. You've been watching Drive, Brake, Fix, Repeat, and I'll see you guys next time where I go do more fun things with cars. Bye!